Hello and welcome to this special bonus edition of It's a Frankly Harry podcast. So glad you could join me on this special show. I need to give you a little bit of a background as to why I'm doing this. I did a couple of bonus episodes early on in this show's run. I think that was in 2024 and didn't do any at all last year. And so I think it's important to give people a little extra something here and there for the show. Something that's a little bit, I would say a little bit out of the ordinary for this show. I know a lot of things on the regular show are out of the ordinary to begin with, but I want to give you a little something extra, and I do have a platform and I do have other opinions that I sometimes want to voice out and comment on. I mean, I have, today I have some rants and maybe some complaints on my favorite football teams who just ended their seasons. And if you're interested in that, please, by all means, stick with me. If you're not, that's okay. You don't have to stick with me. But I do feel like voicing out here a little bit and saying something because I've got this platform and I just need to vent a little bit, and that's really all there is to it. So I'm trying to figure out which one I need to start with here. By the way, I don't really talk too much about sports on the other show though too, because I think it's a very limited listenership. And then if you don't like my teams, I don't want you to wind up hating me or something like that either. But hey, I want to talk about some different things, and I'll have a little bit of a bonus show dedicated to it here. So I think I'll start off. So last Thursday, New Year's Day, I've talked about my favorite team, Texas Tech, before. They played in the Capital One Orange Bowl, which I think the official name this year, because they made the college football playoff, was the college football playoff quarterfinal at the Capital One Orange Bowl. So that's the era that we are now in with the best bowl games, is that they got these long names because of their relationship to the college football playoff. But Tech had never been to the college football playoff before. This was our first time, and it had otherwise been a very stellar season up to that point, I should say. 13 games, 12-1. The one loss was to Arizona State in a game that I kind of felt that they weren't really well prepared for, or something was amiss. And sadly, I think this was kind of the same situation at the Orange Bowl in Miami with Oregon. Now, I don't want to take anything away from Oregon. They have a great team, a lot of great players and talent and speed, coaching, and they did everything they needed to do to win that game the other day on Thursday, and we at Texas Tech did not. So I get that off my chest. Just let you know that right here and there. Here and then. I'm not talking very well today, am I? But anyway, so it was a stellar season. A lot of great things happened. A lot of great talent, and I know that there's controversy. Well, it's not really controversial in the sense that it's legal now because of the name, image, likeness, and the transfer portal, and the ability to pay players and what have you, and that's the way that college football has gone, and it's sad in a sense. I don't think it necessarily has to be that way, but that is the way the world works now. We have some great donorship and some great coaching and a lot of great combinations of things that have contributed to having this great season. And I do think that the future looks bright. I don't know necessarily what it means for next year in particular. There are people who have said that they're not quite sure exactly where next year goes, yet with transfer portals and such, and what exact kind of talent we have. But the general trend appears to be up, and this team may be competing again for a national championship in the not too distant future. And I don't really know exactly when or how that will be, but I certainly don't think we should quit being fans or anything over this Orange Bowl. But the game itself was in large part a disaster. And I do have to tell, and I may not be telling Tech fans anything they don't already know. The defense definitely showed up to play. They made us proud. They had a great game plan. I think they even impressed a few Oregon folks. But then there was a lot of complaining about the offense and special teams. Now, special teams, I didn't really note as much. I know there was a missed field goal, and it was kind of a long field goal from a kicker who I think is still being developed. I can't remember if there was an issue with like kickoff coverage or punting or anything like that. But and then the offense, though, was just atrocious. Couldn't do anything. Never scored any points. We couldn't get that pick six on defense or anything like that. It was a very frustrating game to watch, and it actually kind of reminisced a little bit back to the late Spike Dykes days when I was in school in the late 90s, where defense was pretty good, but they couldn't do everything. They can't be out on the field all the time, and they can't score all your points for you. You know, the offense has to do its load. And the conclusion here is, by the way, and I'll also tell you that I never had a problem in the game with the officiating. I don't think I've heard anybody else who has, but there is some kind of strange articles out on the internet that are blaming anything and everything, but have absolutely no idea what happened with the offense. And they had 26 days to prepare and just did nothing. They even had a game to watch Oregon play supposedly an inferior James Madison team. Excuse me. Hope I'm not coming down with something here. They had 26 days to watch Oregon play a supposedly inferior James Madison team that scored, I think, more than 30 points on them in a losing effort, and also racked up a fair amount of yardage through just like little dink and dunk type plays, which is something that used to happen against us when Mike Leach was our coach. And I have no idea what happened with that. My biggest criticism, I mean, I know the offensive coordinator is new this year. It's his first year, and he's apparently a pretty young guy. Seemed to be quite an upgrade from, what was his name, Zach Kitley from last year that everybody was complaining about. But in the end, when the chips were down and they really mattered, we seemed to kind of get this old offense, and that was completely contained. And I have no idea what they did during the break. And I will give some criticisms to the game planning and preparation there. That's one of the things that I have always been kind of concerned about with Joey since he started, is that there will occasionally be games where this team just doesn't seem prepared, or its head is not in the game, or at least part of the team is not prepared and its head is not in the game. And I absolutely do not, for the life of me, know what happened in that time. But the James Madison information was a golden opportunity for great game planning. But I have no idea why coaches don't look at that and say, try to, you can go out and you can try to play your game, but if it doesn't work, you need to have a plan B and maybe a plan C, especially in big games like that. And it looked like we had nothing there. And that's an enormous criticism there. I felt bad. I feel bad now anyway for Baron Morton, who was our basically, he wasn't really a 4-year starter, but we saw him quite a bit these past 4 years, and I felt really bad for him. I don't know. I don't think he's an NFL quarterback, which is really I hate to say that, but I think that's really, where the future lies with him. He reminded me a little bit, and this is going to date me to another time and place, by the way. He reminds me a lot of Todd Dodge, and he looked a lot like Todd Dodge when he was in school at UT. I grew up, of course, in Austin, and some of the first football I watched was with UT, and Todd Dodge wound up being a high school, I guess, I don't know if he's in the high school Hall of Fame as a coach. Won a lot of games and championships, including eventually at my alma mater at Westlake High in Austin. So he's, certainly had a great career in that regard, but as a college quarterback, he was an interception machine, always threw into coverage, and same it goes for Baron Morton, who I think also kind of looks like Todd in appearance back for the 20-something years. So anyway, but I feel bad for him. Baron's one of us, and I just hope this coaching staff learn something from this. Preparation is really key. We've seen a lot of times in the past where coaches just simply don't make adjustments either. And I don't know that the outcome would have been different, quite honestly. I mean, it was Oregon's day. But if you're not flexible enough to do what you need to do to win, then I'm not sure if you should be coaching. And our offensive coordinator is a new guy named Mac Leftwich, kind of like sandwich, but with left instead of sand. And I don't know. I hope this. I hope people learn stuff, but a lot of times coaches are very stubborn in their ways. And so, but I want to finish saying, Red Raider faithful, I think we do need to get back out there and next season and the coming seasons and make some noise again. I thought we would make more noise, honestly, in the playoff, and than we did. At least win that first game, but it obviously was not our day. So, and anyway, I'll just say, sportsmanship. Congratulations to Oregon. Again, you did what you needed to do, and unfortunately, we needed to do more. So, anyway, now I'll move on to something that's a little bit darker and maybe not as optimistic here. Oh, I should say that our coach, Joey McGuire, he's also a legendary high school football coach, so he probably knows Todd Dodge fairly well, I would think. But anyway, that's just observation there. But anyway, I have to talk a little bit about the Dallas Cowboys as well. Now, I of course, in the last few years, I haven't been real big on the NFL as an organization. I think there's a lot of crazy things. The way that they do business now and promote social agendas and have made it really hard to build and maintain teams is not the same league that I knew when I was growing up, and it's difficult to have a relationship with them. However, I grew up cheering on the Cowboys. They've always been my team, even after Jerry bought them and was controversial, and Jerry Jones, who we're going to talk a little bit about here, bought them and was kind of controversial in some of his actions over the years. And he has a lot of influence, by the way, in the league because of his business acumen and his business practices. I believe that's even why they decided to put him into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, because he basically taught the league new ways of doing business, because they used to force team owners to do business with certain vendors based on franchise agreements and things like that, and but he wanted to branch out and, of course, make his own money elsewhere, and that seems to be the norm now. But I'm talking about the Cowboys as a team. It's now been, because you're going to hear about this, if you're not hearing about this already, you're going to hear about the fact that it's now been 30 years since the last Super Bowl, which was a win. That was the one against the Steelers where Larry Brown took that pick six back, picked off Neil O'Donnell and took it to the end zone, and the rest was history in that game. And I knew as a then 18-year-old kid, you get these strange gut feelings, these strange intuitions that this situation of the Cowboys being in the Super Bowl and being a playoff threat and contender was about to go away for a long time, and it has. And it's even worse than the Super Bowl issue. They haven't actually won a divisional playoff game since that year in 1995, whereas all of their NFC East rivals, including the Cardinals, when they used to be in the division, have done so. And it's really sad. And it's just, I don't know if it's a sad commentary by what happened, like when Jerry had Jimmy Johnson as his coach and they built that team in the early 90s. It was like they set the future for this team being not just financially feasible for the rest of eternity, but just they set it up to where they don't really have to be that competitive in order to make hand over. I'm talking about Jerry Jones specifically. They don't have to be that competitive and for Jerry Jones to make money hand over fist, is what it is. And that was something that I always wondered about the guy and about the way things are set up in the NFL now. It's a pretty safe investment for ownership if you have the money. I mean, obviously it's very expensive to get involved, but the way they have everything set up, you have to really be totally inept and mismanaging a team in order for the league to take it back from you. And so I guess Jerry is satisfied with his 3 trophies and his money and everything, but the fans, obviously, I don't really know what the future holds for us. I don't think they're going to be able to do I don't think they're going to be able to do a lot with Jerry and maybe the rest of his family around. I don't know exactly how that's going to work in the future, but I went into this season knowing that this was not going to be a very good team. I mean, you could tell it actually in the preseason games. Probably not a playoff team. Their choice of coach and Brian Schottenheimer, I know that's a big NFL name. His dad was Marty Schottenheimer, who was coaching a couple of places, especially the Chiefs. Was kind of as far as success goes, he was kind of a Bum Phillips and Wade Phillips type. Like they had some great teams, but they never won any championships type of deal. And I don't know if that's a situation that we're getting into now, but Brian is he's a young guy, and with dealing with Jerry, he's probably a yes man. And, I don't think yes men work out very well in this league. There's a certain thing. If you want to have a winning team and you want to follow a winning team, then you've got to have a certain system in place, certain people in place who know what they're doing and are able to do that, I guess you could say. So I don't want to talk too much about it because it is kind of a broken record. I mean, it's been going on for 30 years of futility. Sometimes the team is pretty good in the regular season. Oftentimes does pretty well against division opponents, actually for the record, and has won a fair amount of games in that time. But then if they make the playoffs, they don't do anything. And then other times, like this year, they don't make the playoffs, and you're having to wonder how much longer the futility lasts. But the thing that I want to conclude with, because this is kind of a broken record and I don't want to go on too long about it, is you can kind of tell that the culture in that organization is different and not in a good way. 15 years ago, they used to talk about it being like a country club culture and players getting too coddled and What do they do or not do in terms of preparing for games? Again, it's a preparation issue. I take great issue in how this team, and evidence of the bad culture is I take great issue that this team does not know how to approach end of regular season games that are otherwise meaningless. Whether you're going to the playoffs and you can't improve your position anymore, or you're not going to the playoffs and need to finish strongly and hopefully build some momentum for next year. Obviously, they were not a playoff team this year. They were eliminated with 3 games to go. I don't think they gave a lot of great effort these last 3 games, even though they won one of them. I watched some of the Giants game yesterday, and they were very much in the game. I mean, you should be in the game with the Giants this year. And inexplicably decided to take Dak Prescott out after halftime and put the other guy in, and then it was kind of downhill from there. We don't seem to have a lot of great backup quarterbacks in this franchise, not in the way that we had in the Landry years as well as the Jimmy Johnson years. I mean, there were some great serviceable quarterbacks who could come in and get the job done, but it doesn't happen anymore, and this league is not a great league for truly building a team from the bottom up and making a dynasty. So that's just my opinion there. You can tell a lot from the team from the way it treats its last regular season games, especially if there's nothing on the line, is the conclusion there. And even if you're not making the playoffs, I mean, you need to get something going for next season, and I don't know if they adequately did that this year. And so anyway, if you're a Tech fan and or a Cowboys fan, thank you for listening. I had to rant and rave on that. Hopefully there are better days ahead. I think Tech is still on its way up, but the Cowboys, I'm really just not sure anymore. And by the way, I would tell you with the Cowboys, I also went into this season, not that I really want to watch the NFL a lot, if it's really worth my time, but I watched the games without a lot of expectations. Meaning, if they win, that's great. That's a bonus. But if they don't, then I'm not exactly down and heartbroken either. And I don't know, perhaps you could call that apathy. I don't know, but that's kind of the way that I approach it now. So, anyway, I think that's about it. I don't think the Cowboys are committed to winning the organization right now, and that's really sad. That's in stark contrast if you want to contrast it to Texas Tech, as I was just mentioning. But anyway, that's about all that I'm going to cover on this bonus show. Thank you for listening if you're a fan, and even if you're not a fan, thank you for listening, but that's just my 2 cents. So, as always, I implore you to share, subscribe, comment, or even send a direct message, and look forward to having you on next week on It's a Frankly Hairy podcast, back in the regular forest again. So, until then, so long. See you later. Love you. Bye.